Welcome to Distance Learning series for Art of Animation course. This week we will start making computer-aided animation. Our first example will be a short animation made with Adobe After Effects Puppet tool. I choose a dance move. This is the video I will use as a source for my animation. You may search and find this video on YouTube with the title. Without further ado, let's start animating. First, I will need a character to animate. You can draw a character, or you can download, search internet and find and download a character for this animation. I choose the second option, and this is the character I will use in this animation. It's in T pose. It will be easy to animate the arms. It's very similar to the original video. There's a tool called Puppet tool in Adobe After Effects. I will use this tool for this animation. With this tool, I can put pins to the joints of the puppet, and with these pins, I can rotate the bones and make poses to the character. The graphic image file for my character is a PNG file with .png extension. Background of the image is transparent. We need to use transparent background image for this kind of applications. Now I'm selecting and dropping the image file to After Effects window, and then I'm dropping this image again to the timeline. After doing that, I will add pins, different kind of pins to my character. There are a few different pin types. Position pin tool and advanced pin tool can be used for rotating and moving the body parts. And starch pin tool is for non-deforming parts like bones. In this example, I will only use advanced pin tool and starch pin tool. I'm beginning with putting advanced pins to joints of the character. These are the pivot points. First pin will be on the wrist. I'm clicking to add the pin. Second one will be on the elbow, then shoulder, and then the other shoulder. Again, for the second arm, to the elbow and the wrist. I need to put pins to the tip of the fingers too, to hold and move the fingers. I will not move the legs, but I will add pins to the advanced pins to the joints of the legs too. Also one for the waist and one for the top of the head. All these points are movable and rotatable. Now I will add starch pins for non-deformable points like bones. I'm selecting starch pin tool from the menu. First starch pin will be on hand, the second one on the lower part of the arm, one for the upper part. At the other arm, I'm adding the pins for the symmetrical points. This green pin, advanced pin, is not necessary. I'm deleting it by selecting and pressing delete key. I'm adding more starch pins closer to the advanced pins. You can select the mesh option to see the triangle view. These triangles are necessary for deforming the picture, the image. It's possible to change the count of the triangles. I will leave it at default, but the higher triangle count gives better results visually. Let's switch back to normal view and continue putting starch pins. I'm adding more starch pins to the fixed places, fixed bones. Now I'm adding starch pins for torso and for head parts. We can see pins on the timeline. If you click the pins, you can see that there are some values for rotation, position, and scale. I can move parts with changing these values, but I will not make it that way. I will hold the pins and move on the main screen. I will use this method. Before putting the poses on character, let's plan this movement a bit. This animation will be in 1 second. The arms will move like a wave, and it will start with the left arm and then it will continue to the right arm. After doing this, with using editing software, I will reverse this video, make a second copy, and create a 2 second from left to right, then right to left arm wave movement. Here, the FPS frame per second value for the project file is 30. So, in order to do this movement in 1 second, I need to move each joint in 4 frames. So, if you count the joints, the final result will be a bit over than 1 second, but it's not important. Yeah, it will be approximately 1 second. It's time to move the parts and make the poses and start creating the animation. But first, I will show you a problem you will face. If you do not make the keyframes correctly. My first frame will be this pose, and I'm moving to fourth frame in the timeline. In the fourth frame, the fingertips will be up. You will notice that there's a keyframe symbol in timeline next to the pin number of the first pin. Now I'm moving to the 8th frame, and here I'm moving fingers to down and wrist to up. In timeline, another keyframe is created for the wrist at 8th frame. Logically, with this 8 frames, the start of the animation is ready. But let's see what's happening when we play. As you see, the movement is not correct. Both the fingertips, hand, and the wrist is moving up in 4 frames. So in the fourth frame, wrist should be down, but it's not like that. So it's important to put keyframes to correct frames and for correct pins. we only put a keyframe to the first pin for the fourth frame, and for the second pin we have a keyframe at 0 point, the first frame, and the eighth frame. So actually the wrist pin is moving from the start position to end position, up position, in 8 frames from 0 to 8. This is not correct, so we have to fix this by putting keyframes for first pin and second pin at the fourth frame. It's possible to add keyframes for different pins in timeline by clicking the keyframe symbol, keyframe option at the left of the timeline. Let's undo all these movement, this incorrect movement, and start again. I'm moving to the fourth frame again. In fourth frame, the fingertips, the hand is up. I'm moving the first pin to up. This creates automatically a keyframe for the fourth frame for the first pin. As a difference, this time I'm selecting the second pin too and adding a keyframe by selecting keyframe option at the left of timeline for this pin. Now I'm moving to 8th frame, and here I'm moving fingers to down and wrist to up. These two movements automatically creates two keyframes for the first and second pin. But again, keyframe for the third pin is missing, so we should add this manually by selecting the third pin and clicking the add keyframe option in the timeline. For the next pins, I will always check the previous and next pins also to make keyframes. Now I'm moving to frame 12. In this frame, elbow will go up, wrist will go down, and I'm adding the additional keyframe for the shoulder too. Next frame is 16. Here I will move the shoulder up and elbow down. And I'm adding an additional keyframe for the other shoulder. Next movement will be at frame 20. The second shoulder will go up and the first shoulder will go down. And I'm adding a keyframe for the elbow here. It's frame 24. Shoulder will go down, elbow will go up. I'm moving those parts and also adding a keyframe for the wrist. Now I'm moving to frame 28. Wrist will go up, shoulder will go down, and an additional keyframe for the hand. Next comes frame 32. Here hand will go up, wrist will go down. I'm also checking the pin for the elbow, and that there's no keyframe here. I'm adding the keyframe for the elbow. The final frame keyframe will be at 36. Here the hand will go down and the animation will end here. I'm also adding a keyframe for the wrist pin. So all the pins are done. Let's see how the movement goes. Now I will save this project as export this project as a video file. In order to do that, I'm selecting File menu and then selecting Export and Media Encoder. In this window, I can select the destination folder to save and file format. I'm starting the render. Okay, it's done. It's saved to the hard drive. Now I will take this file to video editing software and make a copy of this the short animation, reverse it and combine with the other part and create a continuous 2 second or like 2 to 3 seconds movement, making the move from left to right and right to left. As you see, this is the final loop. My short animation is ready and the file is complete. This week we made a beginning to computer animation. We made a short animation using After Effects puppet tool. Thank you all for joining me.